Good morning, BookTube, YouTube, the world. This is Johnny. Thought I'd make a video since my wife just left to have breakfast with her friend, Sue. Then she was going to go to the post office and then get her haircut. And she said she'd be home around 11. It's pretty bad out there right now here in southwest Michigan. We've snow. We finally had our true winter. It is January the 25th, 2019. It is a Friday. It is 8:17. So this is my Friday reads. I don't know really what I'm going to read today, but this morning I've been sitting here, and then I had to go sit in the living room. And sitting in the rocking chair, I was dozing. As you all know, I re-injured my lower back, a bruised lower rib, and I'm on a regiment of pain pills. So I got to take one at 9 o'clock and every 6 hours. So I did go to my regular doctor yesterday so I could get some better, more powerful drugs for my back. So, and while we were out, our doctor's north of Holland, so we passed thrift stores, and of course, you know, we can't pass a thrift store without stopping and seeing if they have any used books. But as far as Friday reads, I read this last night, the Diaries of Emilio, the Formative Years. That's what I read last night. I don't remember if I read anything else yesterday. Like I said, I was pretty out of it yesterday. I can't remember. So I read that yesterday. This morning, I'm trying to read the Reformation commentary. I'm always showing this thing. I'm only like that way through it. So I'm on chapter 6, verse 48. I am the bread of life. I was thinking this morning when I read that, I read it and then I had to go in the living room and sit in the dark, and my wife was doing her devotions and I was sitting in the rocking chair, and but you could write a book on that one verse, I am the bread of life. I mean, you could summarize the whole Bible from Genesis to Revelations is all connected to that one verse, I am the bread of life. I mean, you could just, there's no end to what that means. When Jesus says, I am the bread of life, he says, he's saying this to the Jews, I am the bread of life. Your fathers did eat the manna in the wilderness. He's talking about there in the Old Testament, in the Old Testament book of Exodus, when Moses led them out of Egypt and they crossed to the dry land of the Red Sea and they were in the wilderness, and they were complaining and grumbling because they didn't have anything to eat. And of course we know the miracle of the manna. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. Well, they ate that manna that came from heaven, but they all died. But he says here, this is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which will I give for the life of the world. So I've been reading that verse for the last couple of days and looking at the Reformation commentary, and just it's about as far as I've gotten in the Gospel of John, chapter 6. I have to be careful. If I cough, I throw my back out. So what my wife does when she's here, she presses against my back so I can cough. You got to keep coughing, because if you don't cough, you can get ammonia. What's that word? Pneumonia. You can get, all kinds of problems. So, but anyway, as far as my diary, my 2019 diary, I'm on page 68 this morning. And listening to Thou, Magnus on my port. I've had this thing going on 20 some odd years. Still works. So yesterday we went to my doctor, and we stopped at thrift stores, and these are the books that I found at 2 thrift stores. Now I found this Europia. As you all know, I collect Europia editions. I don't care what it is. If it's Europia, and I get it. And this was only like 60 cents. This is A Distant Marvels, the novel by Chantel Acevedo. Apparently this novel takes place in Cuba. Cuba in 1963, Hurricane Flora, one of the deadliest hurricanes in recorded history, is bearing down on the island. 7 women have been evacuated from their homes and are forced to take refuge in the former governor's mansion as the storm rages outside. In a single room on the top floor, Maria Serena, a former delectora in a cigar factory, begins to tell the incredible story of her childhood during the Cuba's third war of independence, and of her father, Augustine, a ferocious rebel, of her mother, Lulu, an astonishing woman who fought, loved, and dreamed and suffered as fiercely as her husband. Stories, however, have a way of taking on a life of their own. Swept up by her story's momentum, Maria Serena will reveal more than she or anyone ever expected. So I got that. And then I found a Primo Levi novel, The Monkey's Wrench. And I found Cicero's Murder Trials and the Penguin Classics. This is historic. I've gotten more into historical fiction since being in YouTube or BookTube. This is called A Quiet Adjustment by Benjamin Markovits. And this is a novel on Lord Byron's Annabella Melbrink is a beautiful and intelligent and self-possessed, determined to buck the social conventions of her sheltered girlhood. The moment she sets eyes on the rock star of her age, the poetic genius and scandalous libertine Lord Byron, her every budding appetite, sensual, romantic, and worldly, is stirred. Whether by love or by will, she must have Byron, just as for entirely different set of reasons he must have her. As Lady Byron, she believes she can suffer all for love, except perhaps her husband's most scandalous secret, his tormented and incestuous love for his half-sister. So I got that. And then I found an Atkins. Last couple of years, I have read 2 of the Atkins, the Quinn Colson novels. This is the one I came across at a thrift store, The Innocents. I kind of like them. I usually don't read this kind of genre, but as you know, I've talked about them. They take place in Jericho, Mississippi, and it's just, I don't know, I kind of like them, so I got one of these. The Innocents. Quinn Olson didn't owe his hometown of Jericho, Mississippi a damn thing. After serving for more than a decade as a U.S. Army Ranger, he'll return, been elected a sheriff, and tried to make town and surrounding Tabitha County a better place. He was rewarded by being voted out of office and went back to the war zone he left. Now back in Jericho, trying to fix things with his still married high school girlfriend, retired Hollywood stuntman father, he's drawn to becoming a lawman again. This time he accepts a badge from the acting sheriff, Lilia Virgil, a foul-mouthed lawwoman and shades of Calamity Jane, but what they must confront together, something brand new. So I got one of those. And then I found 2 Joyce Carol Oates. As you all know, I read Joyce Carol Oates. Been reading her for years. And when I see them, you know, she has so many books, I can't keep track of them. So I just buy them, and if I have them, I would take it to the book nook. But this one I had, A Little Bird of Heaven, a novel. This one I had, so I'll take this to the book nook. Now, I didn't go to book nook today. Friday I volunteer, but as you know, I threw my back out, so I had to bail out today. But I didn't have this one by Joyce Carol Oates. Lovely, Dark, Deep. These are stories. So yeah, I didn't have this one. And then I found, I first came across Dan Simmons in YouTube. And I had seen his novels in thrift stores and book sales, but I never bought them. But then but some of them are like historical horror fantasies, and this one takes place on Mount Everest, and it's called The Abominable by Dan Simmons. It says it is 1924, and the race to summit the world's highest mountain has been brought to a terrified pause by the shocking disappearance of George Mallory and Sandy Irvine high on Mount Everest. By the following year, 3 climbers, a British poet, a veteran of the Great War, a French mountain guide, and an idealistic young American, find a way to take the shot at the top. They arrange funding from the grieving Lady Bromley, whose son also disappeared on Everest in 1924. Young Bromley must be dead, but his mother refuses to believe it and pays the trio to bring him home. Deep in Tibet, high on Everest, the 3 climbers, joined by the missing boy's female cousin, find themselves being pursued by someone or something in the nightmare that becomes a matter of life and death at 20,000 feet. So, yeah, I started collecting these. I don't collect all of his books. I mean, he's written a library, this Dan Simmons. But I have the Terra and the Druid. And then I found another historical fiction, The Philosopher's Kiss by Peter Prange. This is translated out of German by Steve Murray, and it's the life of the French philosopher Diane Deroute, a famed philosopher of the French Enlightenment. So I got this, and then I found this crime novel, Manhattan Nocturne by Colin Harrison. Now, the reason why I got this, why I was kind of attracted to it, because it was recommended, it was praised by David Foster Wallace and Mary Catskill and Patrick McGrath, which I all collect their writings. And, it was only, 90 cents. And So why not? This came out in 1996. So I got all these books for, I don't know, $6. So that's my Friday reads and my book haul. And like I said, I'm not really sure I'm going to read. I mean, I've been sleeping in the living room in the recliner because I can't lay down and I can't usually I sleep on my side, on my right side or my left side, and I can't. So I've been sleeping in a sitting up position in the recliner in the living room. And I'm this has been going on 3 nights. So I'm getting kind of exhausted. So that's why, as far as Friday reads, I kind of read a little bit and then I doze and then I close my eyes and taking my medicine, and the Lord gives grace. Not much else going on. This is a Friday, like we're in a snowstorm. Today is our oldest son's birthday. He's 38. So tomorrow we're supposed to get together and have hamburgers, and tonight we're going to take care of our little granddaughters, Josephine Joy and Coralie, which will be nice. They'll be around here at 4 o'clock. I know Papa's kind of out of it. I told Carol I can't hold Coralie or do anything, but I like being with our granddaughters, and I love our grandchildren. We have 6. Our daughter Bethany has 3, Margaret, Louisa, Margaret, and Jack. And then our middle child, Josiah Benjamin, and his wife Hannah, there in Seattle, have little Marika Rose. So I wish they were all here, running around. But we have FaceTime with them on Carol's cell phone. We had FaceTime yesterday with our daughter Bethany and Andy was working, but there was Margaret and Louisa and Jack. Next month, Carol leaves for a week to go to Seattle and visit Josiah, Hannah, and little Marika Rose. I'll be staying home. As you all know, I'm afraid of flying. I can't fly anywhere. I can't even get on a train. I can't even go through a car wash, being in enclosed space. And, like next month, I have to go get my teeth cleaned, and I even dread that because every new year they do X-rays on your teeth and they put all this stuff in your mouth, and I get really freaked that I'm going to choke and I'm going to gag and die. So my wife says, well, take one of your little pills, that anti-anxiety pills. So that's probably what I'll do. So I'm hanging in there. I'm really enjoying reading the Diaries of Emilio Reyes. I should show. I got the 2nd volume, which is the Diaries of Emilio Reyes, The Happy Years. But like I said, I don't know what I'm going to read. I might just pop some pills and just pray for healing. So I hope you have a good weekend. This is a Friday. It is, like I said, it is January the 25th. It's a Friday. It's 8:35 here in the morning. And we are in a winter storm. Writing in my diary, reading on the Gospel of John chapter 6, I am the bread of life. Like I said, you could write volumes on that. Everything in the Bible could be tied to that one verse, because the Bible is a unified whole. It's the unity. It's a divine unity. It has a redemptive historical narrative. The beginning in Genesis, in the end, in the revelation of Jesus Christ. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Like I said, I hope you'll have a good Friday, that you have a good weekend. And I'll sign off. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for your concern about my affliction. And until next time, bye.